Impeachment ni Sara, ekis na.
The Supreme Court has ruled that the House impeachment complaint versus VP Sara Duterte is barred by the one-year rule and that due process or fairness applies during all stages of the impeachment process.
BBM napagkita kay Trump.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's a great honor to have President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. of the Philippines, a great family legacy, and highly respected in this country. I know that because I have many friends in the Philippines, and there's great respect, or I couldn't say it, so congratulations.
Taripa ng US, 1% ang binaba.
The number that we had to work with was 20. So we tried very hard to see what we can do. And we managed a 1% decrease in tariff rates.
At marami pang iba. Kumusta? I'm Ulysses or Avor Joseph or Balutin. And welcome to News at Worthy Recap Weekly Edition number 113. We have to cover since last week, so skip the answers provided if it piques your interest. Impeachment ni Sara, dismissed na. Walang kwenta yung laway ko sa mga video na to kasi naglabas na ng most anticipated decision ang Korte Suprema patungkol sa petisyon ni Duterte para mapawalang bisa ang impeachment laban sa kanya, VP Sara.
In a unanimous decision today, July 25, 2025, the Supreme Court en banc declared the articles of impeachment against Vice President Sara Duterte unconstitutional, noting that it is barred by the one-year rule under Article 11, Section 3, Paragraph 5 of the Constitution, and that it violates the right to due process enshrined in the Bill of Rights.
In a decision of 13-0 and 2, unanimous ang pagboto ng mga justices sa pagprotekta kay VP Duterte. Notably, Justice Raul Villanueva na inappoint ni Marcos at Aquino appointee Marvic Leonen also voted for the affirmative. Yung dalawa, either nasa break or nag-recuse. It is also notable to point out na an overwhelming majority ng mga Supreme Justices natin ay inappoint ni former President Rodrigo Duterte. Now, I'm not pointing something out. I'm not pointing anything out na, kumbaga, they owe it to Duterte kaya pinoprotektahan niya si VP Sara. I'm not claiming any of that. But you see how it kind of plays into the discussion. I'm just stating what may look really evident. May ugong-ugong pa nga na alam ni Cheese na papanig ang Duterte-packed Supreme Court kay Sara. Kaya niya dinedelay with the remanding ng ating impeachment complaints.
What is the attitude of the Senate and the Senate Impeachment Court dun sa kung ano man ang magiging desisyon ng Supreme Court dun sa mga pending petitions regarding the impeachment now?
Ano man ang desisyon ng Korte Suprema, dadaan pa rin yan sa impeachment court. Bigyan kita ng halimbawa, RG. Nung panahon ng impeachment ni Chief Justice Corona, nagbaba ng temporary restraining order ang Korte na huwag buksan yung kanyang foreign currency deposit accounts. Ang ginawa ng Senado noon sa isang caucus, hindi pa nga sa plenaryo sa isang caucus, pinagpasahan, attended physically and virtually by the members of the Senate, kung susundin ba o hindi yung TRO ng Korte Suprema. Kung titingnan mo, parang may mali, di ba? Pwede ba kami magdesisyong hindi sumunod o sumunod? Choice ba namin yun? Pero yun yung precedent na ginawa ng Senado noon.
Now, ay sa desisyon na sinulat ni Senior Associate Justice Marvic Leonen, may 3 punto na pumapabor para kay Duterte. Number 1, nung nagpasa ng 3 impeachment complaints sa mga pribadong individual at grupo noong December 2, December 4 at December 19, bagamat ni-receive at verify ang mga impeachment complaints na ito, hindi ni-refer ni House Secretary General Reginald Velasco sa House Committee on Justice dahil daw nag-aantay pa siya ng isang mas malaking impeachment complaint para daw hindi na raw mapatagal at diretso agad sa Senado yung transmission by the threshold of the 1/3 of the House of Representatives to endorse the impeachment complaint. Parang again, hindi na mapunta sa House Committee on Justice tapos mag-usap-usap pa sila tapos alam mo yun, kumbaga parang ma-fast track daw.
This is the first time na 3 yung complaints na pinail, no? At may mga warning sa akin yung mga members na mayroon pang darating. So, I am faced with the situation which is quite unique in recent history. In recent history kasi, one complaint, so referred agad. I think the situation now, if I can describe it, is wait and see. It's wait and see. Especially with the rally of the Iglesia ni Cristo. No? I think that will be taken into account by the House members concerned. I think we have given them enough time, so we will have to transmit the impeachment complaints within this week. Hindi naman kasi nga anytime, 1/3 of the members can endorse it, can sign a complaint in my presence, and then diretso yun sa Senate. Hindi na dadaan sa Committee on Justice.
Basically, medyo may pagkamali. Kasi na-terminate na raw ang impeachment complaints nung hindi siya na-transmit into either the House Committee on Justice or sa Senado. It was deemed as terminated at, of course, archived. Kumaga, dismissed na yung impeachment complaints, making the barring of the rules na 1 year before the impeachment complaints can be filed again into February 6, 2026. Kumbaga, dun pa yung pinaka maagang impeachment complaint na pwede natin ihain laban kay VP Duterte ayon sa konstitusyon. Lahat ng impeachment complaint was considered terminated, which means nagkaroon na ng impeachment proceeding, it just didn't go through. Tapos hindi pa siya kinonsolidate before transmitting it sa Senado, kahit na hindi naman yun yung impeachment complaint na gagamitin sa Senado. The mere fact na na-endorse sila at hindi siya kinonsolidate before transmitting it sa Senado. If he had just referred the first 3 impeachment complaints nung una pa lamang at nabayaran pa rin yung mga congressman, of course, edi sana wala tayong problema ngayon since it's the same impeachment complaint, just consolidated. Ang nangyari, yung una, yung pangalawa at yung pangatlo, na-stuck sa limbo dahil nga hindi nalagay sa House Committee on Justice. Dahil nga nag-aantay si Reginald Velasco ng pinakamalaking impeachment complaint para ma-fast track daw yung pagsusumite nito sa Senado para matransmit agad sa Senado without the clamor of the whole debates sa committee, sa committee level into the first reading, second reading, third reading of the resolution. Na-violate daw ng impeachment fiasco na nangyari yung constitutional rights ni VP Sara due to the fact na, kailangan pa rin daw ng due process at speedy trial as he lays down na ang impeachment ay isang legal at constitutional process with political characteristics. It's quasi-political kasi again, House of Representatives lang ang pwedeng maghain at mag-endorse ng impeachment complaints, samantalang quasi-judicial siya kasi Senado lang ang impeachment court. Hindi siya purely political as a lot of people have pointed out or have said. Ang sabi ni Leonen nung sinulat niya yung majority opinion, ang ruling na ito does not absolve Duterte of the offenses she's accused of, rather upholding everyone's constitutional right at the end does not justify the means. Ayun ang sabi niya, kumbaga, gawin naman natin ang tama. Kung sige, gusto natin ma-impeach si Sara, pero sana gawin natin sa tamang paraan, yung walang laban or not against the Constitution. Hiwalay ang pananaw ng mga senator judges, pero since puro tweets at wala pang interview na nagaganap for quite a while dahil nga Friday ng hapon nilabas yung ruling, I guess we fucked up kasi hindi ko malalagay sa video.
Naniniwala ako na dapat matuloy yung impeachment trial. Yung mandato, tungkulin at kapangyarihan na nakasaad sa saligang batas ay nasa Senado at walang iba. Handa na kaming dinggin ang lahat ng ebidensya para makapagdesisyon ng patas bilang mga hukom, kaya dapat ituloy na yung impeachment trial.
Ay, nadidisturb yung kaluluwa ko. Nakakadismaya talaga na may lumabas talagang ganong desisyon na hinahadlangan yung pagganap ng Senado ng tungkulin na solo sa amin inaatas ng konstitusyon, solo sa Senado, ay hahadlangan ng Korte Suprema, pinakamataas na korte sa ibang pantay, pero hiwalay na branch of government. At marami po kaming disturbing questions tungkol sa desisyong iyon. Halimbawa, kumpara sa sinabi na dati ng Korte Suprema, bakit nila sasabihin na labag yung 1-year bar rule? Samantalang sa pagkaalam at intindi namin, iisa lang namang complaint ang inaksyonan ng House at tinransmit sa amin sa Senado para upuan yan na impeachment trial court. Tapos parang ang dami pang idinagdag na requirements ng desisyon kahit para sa mga future na impeachment trials.
Medyo kinagulat kasi hindi nga inaasahan. Pero kahit ano pa yung desisyon na lalabas, sa akin ito, opinion ko, kailangan igalang natin at sundin ang ruling ng Korte Suprema. Otherwise, ang biggest loser dito yung rule of law. Wala na tayong kikilalanin kasi kataas-taas ang hukuman na yan at unanimous yung decision, but that's beside the point. Ang sinasabi ko lang, pag nag-rule na ang Supreme Court, kailangang respetuhin natin at sundin natin.
Supreme Court made that decision or not, the impeachment court will proceed. And I'm sure someone will raise it during the impeachment proceedings. For sure, someone will raise it. Diba? So, but we are sui generis ang impeachment court. So, we will proceed. So, these are all questions that will be raised, diba? With the decision of the Supreme Court. Will the impeachment court submit to the decision of the Supreme Court?
Merong nag-a-advise sa akin na pwede raw namin i-disregard, pwede i-disregard ng Senate yung Supreme Court decision. Because it tramples over the work of the Senate na kahiwalay. Separate body kami. So, yung advice na yun, pag-aaralan ko muna bago ako mag-comment.
At kahit sabihin ni Jinggoy Estrada na pagbobotohan pa rin ito ng Senado kung itutuloy nila, they'll gladly take the Supreme Court way out, uttering it as final and executory. The pro-impeachment forces can't outvote the no matter what pro-Duterte forces. Lalo na yung Duterte 7, Duterte 8, or even Duterte 10. And ako, I see both sides in defense of Leonen. Tama naman na in the rule of law, every precaution must be done to ensure the rights to due process. Kaya yan nandyan ay para protektahan ang lahat. And to make an exception just because we don't like VP Duterte doesn't really hold in the long term. Kumbaga, special treatment ang mangyayari doon. Whether bad or good is up for us to decide. Ang sasabihin kapag natuloy ang impeachment trial ni Duterte, it's a sham, it's a kangaroo court kasi pinayagan ng impeachment, pinayagan ng Supreme Court. Ang sasabihin ng mga anti-impeachment, unconstitutional at judicial activism ang ginagawa ng mga husgado, of which we don't really want them to do, di ba? Kasi baka mamaya, when the tide turns, tayo ang kawawa. In the long term, kapag ito ang ginagamit nilang talking point, we will be fucked. Whether impeached or not, convicted or acquitted, walang mangyayari. Pero at least we have the talking point na hindi na natin kailangan pang patunayan. Hindi na natin kailangan pang puntahan. Pero in defense of those who wanted the impeachment proceedings to commence at matuloy, it's all about the facts. Kasi alam naman natin hindi mako-convict si Sara. Duterte 7 made that clear. Pero we're talking about uncovering the arguments and evidences ng prosecution at ng defense. This only unnecessarily hinders that prospect. Kasi wala naman talagang impeachment conviction na mangyayari. We just wanted to know the evidences by the prosecution and the arguments of the defense. Now, do they have the constitutional mandate para pagbawalan ang Senado para ituloy ang impeachment which has already been in motion? I don't know yet. Pero I feel like they do. But on the contrary, it's sui generis. Sui generis circumstances begets sui generis solutions. President Bongbong Marcos, hindi kinaya ang art of the deal.
I want to say it's an honor to have you. We're going to talk about trade today. and we're very close to finishing a trade deal, big trade deal actually, and we do a lot of business with you. It's a lot of income coming in for both groups. But I was surprised to see the kind of numbers. They're very big.
Bumisita si Presidente Bongbong Marcos sa Amerika para makipagnegosasyon kay POTUS Trump sa White House patungkol sa walang hangganang taripa at tangent ni Orange ADHD man.
We're going to be talking about war and peace. They're a very important nation militarily, and we've had some great drills lately. We're back with them. I think I can say that the last administration was not getting along with them too well. They didn't get along with anybody. They didn't know. Honestly, they didn't know what they were doing. But we have some fantastic military relationships with the Philippines, and that's been reinstituted. And they're going to get bigger under what we're doing and what we're proposing. And I just want to thank you for being with us. It's a great honor. You and your representatives, really a great honor. We have a big announcement. AstraZeneca, the big drug company, is going to spend $50 billion. Just announced $50 billion in the United States.
So first off, ano nga ba ang tariff? So totoo lang, dapat hindi na pinansin ni BBM yung dalawang tariff na pinataw sa mga bansa including the Philippines. Kasi one, wala namang nakikipagnegosasyon kay Trump or bihira ang mga taong makikipagnegosasyon kay Trump. Kaya niya nga pinost for 90 days kasi wala ko makausap sa kanya. Kaya niya pinost yun kasi again, tataas lang yung inflation sa bansa niya. At saka, bakit tayo papatungan ng tariff kung binigay na natin sa kanila ang lahat? Like, ginawa na tayong tuta. Ginawa na tayong tuta pero pinatawan pa rin tayo ng taripa. Hindi ba parang unfair yung ganun? Binigyan na natin sila ng base militar na nakalagay sa Pilipinas, sa ating mga strategic defense sites. Ang laking sampal nun sa goodwill ng Pilipinas sa Amerika. Kasi kinakalaban tayo when we only want peace and we only want cooperation. Unang pinatawan ni Donald Trump ang Pilipinas ng 17% tariff noong April 2025.
Kapag po nanatili ang ganitong klaseng polisiya, maaari pa rin din po tayo makakuha ng mga investors mula doon sa mga bansa na may pinapatawan ng malalaking tariff. So maaari silang pumunta sa Pilipinas, dito sila magsagawa, magmanufacture, dahil 17% lamang ang pinapataw sa atin. So, pwedeng negative, positive.
Kung 17% lang ang tariff natin ng tilapia na fillet o kaya whole sa Amerika, tapos ang Vietnam, which is a major supplier at 46%, and Thailand at 34% is a second major supplier, lamang tayo.
Meaning lahat ng in-export natin papuntang Amerika tulad ng banana, ketchup, Bixby Porab, Oliver Rodrigo at Duterte will be 17% more expensive sa tinugrean niyang Liberation Day.
November 5th, 2024 will be Liberation Day in America.
I thought that was Liberation Day. But then I was like, oh wait, no, I'm sorry, he changed it.
For American citizens, January 20th, 2025 is Liberation Day.
I thought it was January 20th, 2025. That was Liberation Day. I thought I was already liberated. But then it turns out
we have Liberation Day, as you know, on April 2nd.
Of course, as we said earlier, pinost niya rin ito because he a dumbass at walang pumapansin and only served to isolate the US sa buong mundo. Kasi ikaw, kumbaga yung US na ang nagbe-benepisyo sa free trade sa buong mundo without the tariffs. Tapos, he's isolating the US sa buong mundo, making them more independent or less reliant sa Estados Unidos, which is, you know what, actually a good thing. You know what, countries just ignored him, plunging the stock prices of the top 500 companies.
We're gonna win so much, you may even get tired of winning, and you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're gonna win more. We're gonna...
Nagulat ang lahat when a few months later, nitong July, in-announce ni Trump ang pag-hike ng tariff rate. Siguro iwasan ni Trump yung diskusyon regarding the ICE rates, pabagsak ng stock market, pasimulan ni Elon Musk na nasa SN list si Trump. Inflation, Israel axe kissing, Zelensky meeting, Israel bombing Gaza, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, no kids rally, flop military party, big beautiful bill, Epstein list, at marami pang iba.
We are in receipt of the United States' latest reciprocal tariff for the Philippines. We are concerned that
the US has decided to impose a 20% tariff on Philippine exports. The fact remains, however, that the 20% rate is the second lowest among all reciprocal tariffs that the US has imposed on the region, the lowest being the 10% of Singapore. But more importantly than all of this, we remain committed to continuing negotiations with the United States in good faith to pursue a bilateral comprehensive economic agreement or, if possible, an FTA.
Kanyang meeting with Trump, they agreed to a 1% cut ng taripa from 20% to 19%. Sa totoo na, nakakainsulto. Hindi ata magaling mag-negotiate si BBM. Pero in all honesty at kudos to him, walang leverage ang Pilipinas para kalabanin ang isang egotistic, fascistic, unilateral motherfucker that is Trump. Even more than Marcos.
Mr. President, where are we in terms of negotiating about the reciprocal tariff? How far are we
with
from
the
Philippines? Yes,
Oh.
sir. How far
Are you from the Philippines?
Yes, sir.
Good.
I'm from the Philippines. How far are we from achieving?
Well, it's tough. He's a very tough negotiator. So far, we're not there because he's negotiating too tough. In fact, I used to like him better than I do now. He's too tough. But we'll probably agree to something. But he's strong, a strong negotiator. He loves your country.
Trump even mentioned the previous administration, Duterte's affinity towards China, calling it a bad move and heading to the wrong direction.
Well, it's an honor to be with this gentleman. You know, I've known him, and I've known his family, actually, but I've known him. And I assume you're from the Philippines? Are you from the Philippines?
Yes, sir.
That's good. You're very lucky to be from the Philippines, right? It's a great place. But we're going to have a very good relationship. I mean, I know you had some problems with another president, and it was not your fault. It was the president's fault. And the country was maybe tilting toward China, but we untilted it very, very quickly. But you know, you had a country that was tilting toward China for a period of time, and I just don't think that would have been good for you. You can deal with China, you should deal with China, but when I got elected, everything changed and they came right back to us.
They also announced new missile ammunition manufacturing hubs in the Philippines sa Subic.
How crucial is the ammunition hub that the U.S. plans to build in Subic and the Luzon corridor, considering that these will be built in areas that hosts strategic ports as well as military air bases?
You talking ammunition?
Yes, the U.S. House Congressional Committee on Appropriations approved a budget.
Well, it's very important. Otherwise, we wouldn't have approved it.
Sorry?
Yeah, it's very important. Otherwise, we wouldn't. We need ammunition. We're going to end up in a few months, we'll have more ammunition than any country has ever had. We're going to have more missiles than any country has ever had. We're going to have all the speedy missiles. We'll have the speedy ones, the slow ones, the accurate ones, the ones that are slightly less accurate. We have everything. But we will have more ammunition than any country has ever had. It's very important to me.
Ayun na naman tayo sa pag-surrender ng ating kalayaan for less 1% sa tariff rate. Ang sakit at saka sampal sa muka yung ginagawa. But anyway, something na VP Sara opposed dahil nga raw sa threat nito sa soberanya at foreign policy independence ng Pilipinas, which I guess is a worry not unfounded. Tama naman.
Ang nakalagay sa ating saligang batas, no, na meron tayong dapat independent foreign policy. Kung yung ginagawa ng gobyerno ay tungkiling sa iisang bansa lang, ibig sabihin nun, wala na tayong true independent policy.
All of what we consider part of the modernization of the Philippine military is really as a response to the circumstances that surround the situation around the South China Sea and now what we used to refer to as Asia Pacific, which we have expanded now to the Indo-Pacific. And if we would certainly, like in any kind of military spending, we would wish that that wasn't necessary, but it is. And so that is what we are doing. And as an adjunct to the question about the ammunition production, this is actually the United States is assisting the Philippines in what we call our self-reliance defense program, which is to allow us to to be self-reliant and to be able to stand our own 2 feet, whatever the circumstances that occur in the future. And that, the reason that we have encouraged more interaction with the United States is because it is necessary. And it is not just with the United States. It is with all our neighboring countries and even countries as far afield as the Scandinavian countries, the EU. And so this is an ongoing process. And again, I will stress the point that we do this because we feel it is necessary.
Sa atin, ang tariff sa mga expert natin, 19%. 1% less than the second rate at 2%. Kumbaga, yung unang tariff natin, di ba? 17% lang. Tapos, tinaas ng 3%. Naging 20%. Tapos, binaba ng 1%. Mas mataas pa rin sa initial na 17%.
That's what we are following, is a 19% tariff rate on Philippine goods that are imported into the United States.
But Mr. President, isn't the Philippines getting the shorter end of the stick here by having still higher tariffs from 17%? It's still higher. It's still higher at 19%, whereas we're giving them zero tariffs for certain sectors.
Well, that's how negotiations go. We came here, when we arrived in Washington, tariff rates were 20. So why it came up from 17 to 20 is an internal matter with the United States government. So
noon kasi 30% ang tariff rate sa mga finished cars galing sa US at 20% naman sa mga bus at trucks. He should have just let them invest in manufacturing sa loob ng bansa para wala na silang, inaangkat na taripa. None of this shit. Kung ano mas maganda, subsidize the auto manufacturing industry sa Pilipinas. Filipino people making Filipino cars. That way, we can really stand on our own feet. You know what? Bigyan natin ng subsidiya na mas malaki yung mga jeepney makers. Yung mga modernized jeepney makers. Yung meron pa ring soul ng isang jeepney. Yung malaki sila, pero the aircon, at mukha pa rin silang jeepney sa labas. Matagal ko na sinasabi yung ganyan. Mag-invest tayo sa manufacturing sa Pilipinas. Please lang. Now, of course, hindi pa tapos. And wala pang ironclad deal. But this is the preliminary sketch ng makukuha natin. And in all realities, maybe ito na yun. 19% tariff rate. Samantalang sa US, 0%. We have been a long-standing ally of the United States. Tapos gaganyanin niya lang tayo. Pero you know what? As I said earlier, mahirap makipagnegosasyon kay egotistic, fascistic, authoritarian Donald Trump. Maganda pa tayo, of course, sa mga agreed upon terms and conditions. BBM also flaunted yung mga investment pledges na nakuha ng Pilipinas from numerous industries totaling to a few dozen billion dollars. At yan ang pagtatapos ng News on Worthy Recap Weekly Edition for roughly the 4th week of July 2025. Mag-suggest some more topics on our crisis na balitas if you feel ambitious them in any way. Salamat sa panonood ng Varmy Live sa Trump mga socials of War. Joseph Mulder, yung nakabdraw. Wow.